Of the many mansions that have been built in the United States, perhaps none boasted as much flair as those of William A. Clark. Hi everyone, Ken here. Today we are exploring two mansions in a double feature as we head to Manhattan to uncover Clark's Folly and venture out west to Montana to explore the Copper King's mansion. Hit that like button to let YouTube know you appreciate historic homes, and let's begin exploring this house. William A. Clark was born on January 8, 1839 in a log cabin in Connellsville, Pennsylvania, marking the humble beginnings of a man who would become a titan of America's Gilded Age. In 1856, Clark and his family moved to Iowa, where he taught school and studied law. This period of relative calm preceded a bold venture west in 1863, where Clark sought fortune in the goldfields of Montana during the peak of the gold rush. It was here that Clark initially engaged in placer mining, panning streams for little bits of copper, but quickly he diversified his interest. Recognizing the limitations of placer mining earnings, he ventured into trading and banking, lending money to mining companies. When the companies could not afford the steep interest, he would foreclose on them and seize their mining operations. This practice allowed him to amass a considerable fortune as he quickly became one of the largest mining magnates in the US, earning him a place among the famed Copper Kings of Butte, Montana. Clark's pursuits were not confined to mining. He also invested in electric power companies, newspapers, and railroads, including the significant San Pedro, Los Angeles, and Salt Lake Railroad, which would play a pivotal role in the development of the namesake Clark County, Nevada, in the Las Vegas Valley. By the 1880s, his net worth had skyrocketed, and while he had built several homes over the years, he was finally ready to settle down and build his first mansion. He purchased a prime lot along Butte, Montana's Granite Street and hired architect D.T. McDevitt to design for him a 34-room mansion. The towering residence quickly became the envy of Butte, finished out in red brick with copper accents, fitting for the Copper King. Construction lasted for 4 years as artists added finishing touches, leaving no surface unadorned. When it was completed in 1888, the grand total amounted to a Montana record-breaking $260,000, the modern equivalent of over $8.5 million. As we venture throughout the rooms, pay close attention to frescoed ceilings, intricate woodwork, and stained glass windows shimmering in the background. Despite his business successes, Clark's ambitions stretched into the political arena. He served as president at both the Montana state constitutional conventions and yearned for national political influence. His first attempt to become a U.S. Senator in 1899 was marred by scandal when it was revealed that he had bribed members of the Montana state legislature. This scandal, although it prevented him from taking a Senate seat at the time, highlighted the endemic corruption of the era and contributed to the passage of the 17th Amendment, which mandated the direct election of senators. Undeterred by setbacks, Clark returned to the political fray and successfully secured a Senate seat in 1901, where he served until 1907. His tenure in politics was characterized by a blend of progress and controversy, with his business interest often guiding his legislative priorities. After the short stint in politics, Clark decided to focus his attention back on his businesses, leaving Montana for New York. He purchased one of the most desirable lots in Manhattan at the corner of 5th Avenue and 77th Street, and began planning not just a mansion, but a palatial residence to show off the true scope of his wealth. Started in 1897, Clark flew through architects as none of them could deliver the grand residence he imagined he should have. Finally, he hired the architecture firm of Lord Hewlett and Hull, who delivered plans for a 9-story tall, 121-room mansion. Construction of such a grand residence required Clark to purchase quarries and construct railroad lines just to transport stone for artists to carve on site. Furthermore, an underground railroad line was designed to travel beneath New York streets to deliver coal directly to the mansion. As his house began to take shape, temporary structures were built along the facade to shield artists from the elements as they carved delicate features into the marble and granite structure. After 14 long years of construction, in 1911, the William A. Clark House in Manhattan was completed. While the Beaux-Arts style had been incredibly popular among the ultra-wealthy, Clark's house was an exception, with critics calling it an amalgamation of misproportioned architectural elements, leading it to gain the nickname Clark's Folly. Entering the mansion from street level, we arrive in the vestibule within full view of the grand staircase straight ahead. The marble newel posts to either side of us were originally furnished with bronze statues, and while they no longer appear in the photo from the vestibule, we can imagine them flanking the entryway as we begin our tour. The entire stair hall has been clad in marble from floor to ceiling. Before we ascend the staircase, we'll explore the first floor's many opulent rooms. Arriving as guests, we're escorted to the reception room to await the announcement that our host is ready to see us. From here we might be led into the library, clad in oak imported from England's Sherwood Forest. Though this room commands highly coveted views of Central Park, stained glass windows demand our attention. On our way out, we can pause to admire the intricate relief work found on the fireplace's mantel and appreciate the overshadowed artisan details of the built-in oak bookcases. Across the hall from the library, we find Mr. Clark's private office and can imagine other titans of industry stopping by for brief meetings as they discuss joint railroad ventures. Continuing along the mansion's 5th Avenue facing front, we find the billiard and smoking room blending the finishes from the stair hall and libraries. One of the main reasons Clark wanted a house so large was to be able to store his growing art collection, behind which we find Gothic tracery in the wainscoting with a floor-to-ceiling fireplace mantel continuing this intricate motif. On the opposite end of the mansion, we'll explore the fans gallery, housing Clark's collection of English earthenware and colored glass. While most of Manhattan's mansions contained a butler's pantry for families to display their fine china, the architects followed Clark's instructions to lend the room a quality more akin to a museum than a pantry. Let's return to the grand staircase and follow the gilded, wrought iron balustrade as it sweeps from the 2nd floor. Directly across from the stair landing, and looking out over the entrance of the mansion, we find the petit salon with herringbone floors, gilded wall panels, and intricate murals rounding towards the ceiling. Continuing through the door at the end of the petit salon brings us to the Salon Doré. Originally built in the 1700s, this room was purchased from l'Hôtel de Clermont in Paris. After being carefully disassembled and shipped to the United States, it was reassembled in its entirety. In fact, architectural salvage from all over Europe was installed throughout the mansion. On the opposite side of the petit salon, we find the morning room, clad in 170 uniquely carved wood panels. Passing through the sculpture hall with 30-foot high ceilings brings us to the dining room, where a 15-foot wide Numidian marble fireplace boasts life-size sculptures of the Roman gods Neptune and Diana freeing themselves from the upper mantle. Next we find the picture gallery, where Clark stored tens of millions of dollars worth of fine art. The gallery stretched 95 feet long below a leaded skylight soaring 2 stories overhead, ensuring that his art collection was well lit by natural light. At one end of the gallery sat the Harris organ, the largest chamber organ in North America. When the mansion was completed in 1911, it boasted not only everything we've seen, but also state-of-the-art laundry facilities, an indoor pool, and dozens of rooms for live-in staff. All total, construction cost a whopping $7 million, the modern-day equivalent of over $230 million when adjusting for inflation alone. After Clark passed away in 1925, his family sold the Manhattan mansion for less than half of what it cost to build. It was purchased by a developer, and after only 19 years of standing on the corner of 5th and 77th, it was demolished to make way for this apartment building which continues to stand to this day. While not nearly as palatial by comparison, but nonetheless grand in its own right, the Copper King Mansion in Montana continues to stand to this day. What did you think about the mansions of William A. Clark? Did you have a favorite? Let me know your thoughts down below in the comments section. And while you're there, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you never miss an exciting episode of This House.